Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, we are joined by an extra special guest, one of the world's most influential digital marketers, a New York Times bestseller, Ford's top 10 marketer of our time, worked with the likes of Amazon, NBC, Facebook, Microsoft, YouTube, eBay, 800 million, and I hope I've got that figure right, Neil, buyers to his clients' websites, and a top 100 entrepreneur as presented by Mr. Obama himself. So Neil Patel, thank you for giving up your time this afternoon, but I understand it's this morning where you are.
That's right. Thank you for having me.
Good. So hope I did your intro justification there.
It's always funny to hear people talking about you.
For the audience who haven't met you yet, which is crazy if they haven't seen you online or in marketing in some way, shape or form, do you want to do a little bit of an introduction for yourself?
Sure. I blog at neilpatel.com where I blog about marketing, sometimes entrepreneurship. Other than that, I have an ad agency called Neil Patel Digital, named after me, funny enough, where we help companies grow their traffic and their revenue online. And I have a marketing software called Ubersuggest.
Nice, awesome. And going back to before you even got into marketing, what made you get into marketing first of all? How did that whole journey even start? When was it?
Yeah, it was funny. So I was around 16 years old. I was looking for high-paying jobs online. Keep in mind, I was 16. So when I'm saying high-paying, I wanted like $100,000 a year, which is high-paying. But the disconnect is I was 16 in high school and I expected to get a job for $100,000, right? Not going to happen. Back then, I believed I could get one. So I was searching the internet, looking for jobs, and I landed on the site called monster.com. I wasn't qualified for any of the jobs. I didn't have a college degree, didn't have any of the certification. But I saw that they were a job board making tons of money because they're publicly traded, so their financials were online. And I'm like, you know what? I can't find a job. So this best thing I should do is just go create a job board so I can make money, helping other people find jobs, even though I'm not qualified for a job. So I spent some money, a few $1,000 paying some developers to help me create a website, popped it up. And then what ended up happening was site was done. And I was just like, where's all the people? Why aren't anyone coming to the site? And then I learned you had to do something called marketing. So I went out there, paid a marketing firm with all the money I saved up working at a job at a theme park. And then what ended up happening was they took the money, provided little to no results. So I had no choice but to learn it on my own. I got good at it, started getting traffic, still made no money, but I was like, hey, I'm good at this marketing thing. I can get people traffic. I suck at making money for my own websites, but I can get people traffic. So then I also fell in love with marketing at the same time because I was kind of decent at it at that time. And yeah, I just kept pushing forward on that, side of the business. Really winded down the job board over time and then just really only focused on marketing and helping others.
What age? You're giving away your age if I ask this question, but what year was it that you kind of discovered marketing? Because I would imagine the difference between now and then is probably huge, right?
Yeah. So you're looking somewhere around 2003.
So 2003. So what would you say have been the biggest shifts from 2003 other than the internet and social media? What do you think have been the biggest shifts in marketing?
Yeah, the big shift that we're seeing right now in marketing, and keep in mind, I was doing marketing before 2003, but 2003 is when I really got into it, right? Because when I tell you the story, it didn't all happen within 1 month or 6 months or a year. It took some time, but by 2003, I really got decent at it. Funny enough, by 2001 is when I first started the job board. And what I ended up learning, it took around 6 months to build a job board though, but what I ended up learning throughout that time and throughout that process is marketing changes super fast. In 2001, if you put the keyword that you're trying to rank for in the title of the page, you used to rank pretty easily. By 2003, if you did that, it wasn't as easy. And that was the speed then. Now, of course, it changes much more rapidly. There's many more algorithm updates, at least when it comes to SEO. There's many more platforms from Facebook. MySpace was back in the day, it was popular, but now there's Facebook, Instagram. Everyone's talking about this new one called Clubhouse, right? Yeah. But the list goes on and on. So things change, times change. And the big thing that I ended up learning is whatever you think is working isn't going to work forever in the long run. So you better learn how to adapt and keep learning. And that's one of the best things you can have if you want to do well in marketing, is the ability to learn and continually get better.
That's a principle for business, though, isn't it? Really, the ability to be able to change and inspire. The team and people on your team really don't like change, has been one of the big things that I've seen. But it's a natural progression. You have to continually keep pivoting and changing as journeys go and the business grows, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I've heard a saying that the 2010s, for example, in social media were very much a case of building audience, building communities, building following, which now kind of moving into the 2020s, it's pretty much all about ads. You know, everyone's got 5,000 friends. There's groups and communities with hundreds of thousands of people in them. Facebook's got to monetize. Other social media platforms have got to monetize. So kind of the personal brand element is becoming harder to build organically. And you must be using ads. What's kind of your thoughts behind that?
Yeah, totally agree. Ads, funny enough, won't go away. They want to continually charge you for more reach. That's how these platforms make money. When you look at the organic reach, it's harder and harder. But here's the thing. There's new platforms that always come around and make it easier to get reach. For example, I was on Clubhouse literally right before we ended up doing this podcast interview. Okay. And I started with 100 and something followers. I joined a room, talked for literally 30 seconds, and now I have 400 and something followers. Now, is it going to be that easy to gain followers on Clubhouse if they maintain their popularity and their growth rate within a year or two? Of course not, right? Is it easy to gain popularity on LinkedIn right now? Yes. Why? Less than 3%, or roughly around 3% of the people on LinkedIn only post content, which means majority of the people don't post content. They want more people to post content. Now, if LinkedIn had 30% of their people posting content, do you think you would gain as much followers and reach when you post your content? Of course not. And why? Because there's competition. They're already getting what they're looking for. So these platforms will encourage you really early on and give you what you want. But the moment they start doing well enough where they don't need it as much, then they turn the little knobs and throttle it, so that way they start making more money. But it doesn't mean you can't grow in marketing. You just got to get creative. And that's why in marketing, I think one of the best skill sets is creativity. Yeah, sure, you can read and learn, but if you can't think outside the box, especially when everyone else is, doing the same thing, you're not going to do well. There's so many people with more money, more employees, more resources. You got to really think outside the box to win.
Yeah, that's why quite a lot of people have made it with the likes of TikTok and things like that, haven't they? Because they've been able to do things. I've seen people in the mortgage space, which is my background, who are doing crazy things from a marketing perspective that you just wouldn't put such a professional industry with the stuff they're doing, but their pages and profiles are blowing up because of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and what's funny is it's like, I know real estate agents who have done well purely because of LinkedIn. One of my buddies, Todd, who's in the mortgage industry, has gotten quite a few customers from LinkedIn as well. Who'd ever thought, though, right? But you can end up getting business from these sites and these platforms if you participate.
Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? You only get out what you put in effectively from doing it. And I think that's one of the things that dawned on me when you said earlier, right at the very beginning, you said you set up the website neilpatel.com. One of my first lessons, because in my first 10 years of business, I basically did no marketing, which is why I'm so passionate about it now. My journey in marketing started 2016. But one of the first lessons I learned was don't name things after you. Do not call your business Gary Das Mortgage Broker. Do not call your business, you need a bigger brand, because otherwise it only just comes about you. So
yes,
what prompted you to go that route?
So what was funny is when I first started off in the marketing realm, right? Forget my first business, but let's go into the marketing realm because that's when I really started.
Yeah.
When I looked at that, my first ad agency was called ACS. Got crushed during 2008, during the financial crisis, right? The mortgage industry, at least in the US, I don't know how it was on the other side of the pond.
Horrendous.
So when you think about it from that perspective, right, that business was gone, had some software companies. NeilPatel.com was a place for me to just blog about marketing. I didn't expect my brand to grow. I was just blogging on marketing because it was fun, is my passion, has nothing to do with business. Eventually, my team's like, we should go and create an ad agency, right? One of my buddies, Mike, who's now my co-founder. And I was like, it's a lot of work. I don't know. And we are thinking about names. And what was funny is he's like, look, everyone's trying to pay you for marketing. They're not trying to pay me. They're not trying to pay someone else because you have such a loyal blog audience. At that time, my blog was getting maybe like 400,000 or 500,000 visitors. He's like, we should end up naming the ad agency after you. And that's how it ended up starting. And then we took it from there. Now, here's the issue when you name something after yourself. Tony Robbins is only so big. LeBron James is only so big. Ronaldo is only so big. These brands are not as big as Apple, Google, Amazon, and the list goes on and on. I'm stuck in that boat. My brand is nowhere near the size of Ronaldo, LeBron James, or any of those people. And so my personal brand is much smaller, which means my total amount of money that I can probably make is going to be smaller as well. But when Tony Robbins passes away, and I hope he never does, amazing guy, I don't know him, but great content. And we all eventually pass away, at least currently. There's not technology to keep us around longer. What do you think is going to happen to the Tony Robbins brand? It may not go to zero, but it's not going to be worth the same compared to when Tony Robbins was around. Mm-hmm. And that's the issue that we all end up facing that people don't really think about, in which, look, if you have a brand around yourself, it's harder to make it everlasting. And in my space, sure, there's been some people that have created a brand that'll last a very long time, like Ogilvy. He passed away, known as one of the best ad execs out there. There's people like Michael Jordan. When he passes away, I think his shoes will still be super popular. But I think that list is really tiny. And if I recommended people to go with a brand, I would tell them, don't build a personal brand. People don't want to buy personal brands. Then you have this key man syndrome, in which if something happens to you, the business goes away.
Yeah, that's that was the message that I kind of took. And it's that 3 elements of brands, isn't it? You have the personal brand, which is you, Neil Patel. But if you had the business brand, it can live on after you. And then you can create product brands underneath the different businesses or the business as such. So have you not given any thought to releasing a business brand and kind of slowly pivoting, or do you think it would have too much of a hindrance?
We think it would impact the business in a negative way. So we took the ad agency, we changed it from Neil Patel Digital to NP Digital, right? Because it's just initials. Not everyone will know what's around me. But what's funny is when our sales reps still talk to people, they say they want to hire Neil. So that doesn't help. We created a software product called Uber Suggest. And that product, not named after me, so it's standalone, which is great. And we'll continue to spin off more like that, but it's just a long journey.
Yeah. And when you started your ad agency, you said you've been blogging and you built that blog up, and that enabled you, your team wanted to move into an ad agency. Did your ad agency initially only deal with blogs and SEO, or did it kind of go out wider and farther than that?
We only ended up starting with SEO, and then we added paid media, so paid advertising. Now we'll do things like CRO and affiliate marketing and email marketing, and the list goes on and on. But eventually we expanded to many areas. We don't do all of them, but we do the majority.
So that breeds, I'm glad you said that, because that nicely leads into my next question, which is, how important do you think from a marketing perspective it is to start with a niche?
I think it's important. Marketing is super competitive. If you don't start with the niche, you're going to be screwed. So I think you need to niche down, and then after you do well in that niche, then expand, but start smaller. There's nothing wrong with starting small and then growing from there.
Yeah, I think that's a business principle that applies out. I started in self-employed mortgages, and slowly but surely we branched the business out over time. That's now led into coaching and mentoring and teaching and training and courses, etc. And you just don't, I think that wouldn't have happened if I'd have been a generalist and not focused on one particular area, because in a smaller pond, you can be a bigger fish potentially, can't you? That's the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's one of the must-do things that you think people need to do now in marketing then?
Be consistent. Everyone expects results right away.
Mm.
So there's two things, right? One, you have to be consistent, and two, you have to be persistent. So persistence, you keep pushing. Consistent is you have to do it on a regular basis. So if you're blogging, blog once, twice, 3 times a week. You're participating on social media, you got to participate multiple times a week. But you got to do that for a long period of time. It used to be where you can be popular or grow your traffic within 3 to 6 months or 1 month or even a year. But now it really takes 2 to 3 years to really see the results. And that's where most people fail. It's not that they're doing the wrong things, they just don't do it long enough.
Yeah, I think the blogging side, I don't know what it's like here in the UK, in the US or wherever, but in the UK, certainly the thing that I've heard is it's almost impossible to rank for SEO.
They say that in the UK, they say that in the US, they say that in Australia. It's still very possible to rank, just not in the short run. If you want results within 3 months, you're not going to do that well. If you have an old established site, sure, you can. But generally speaking, you need to give it a year to 2 years and you can do well, even in the UK. But the problem is most people don't want to invest the time and the money for that long before they see results, because you're burning the money and you're not really generating any revenue in the short run. But that also creates an amazing moat because most people aren't willing to invest the money. Or
yeah. Everyone's looking for the quick win, aren't they? And as you mentioned, 3 years. So you mentioned there 2 to 3 blogs a week, which is going to be 100 to 150 blogs over the course of 2-3 years. That's some commitment to keep doing for the consistency and the persistence of it.
Yeah, and it's expensive. If you're not writing it yourself, let's say you're paying £100 per blog post and you do 3 a week, right? You're looking at over 150 a year, right?
Yeah.
It adds up very, very fast. Over 3 years, that's a ton of money.
So how do people, who are starting out and want to write content? I'm a massive video fan. I love being on video. It's so much easier. You can equally create the written and the audio out of it. So it's a massive leverage of time. But for those who don't want to put their faces on video, how can they even try to dominate in terms of, they've just literally got to write 3 blogs a week? Is there a perfect length or a place to post them? Is it website now? Is it LinkedIn articles? Is it Medium? How do you focus that?
Yeah, so the length is whatever length provides the reader with everything they need to know. So if I was creating an article on self-employed mortgages, I would talk about everything: how to qualify, what sizes are easy, what do you need to show to qualify, what banks offer these mortgages. I'm making this up because I don't know much about self-employed mortgages, period. So the more detailed you get, the better. For example, we have something in the US called credit score. I don't know if there's a credit score in the UK.
Yeah.
If you didn't talk about the credit score in the article, it wouldn't be as thorough, right? So if you talked about credit score, which you should, it'll be a little bit longer. So don't think about the article as in how long it should be. Think about, did I cover everything that needs to be covered? The second thing is it needs to be fresh and updated. So after 6 months, is it old? Are some of the things antiquated and need to be updated? If so, you need to keep updating. The third thing is when you have that content, you want to keep it on your blog first, but share it on the social web. And a week later, by all means, repost it on Medium, LinkedIn posts, Facebook posts, and the list can go on and on. There's nothing wrong with repurposing and duplicating the content because it just gives more awareness to you.
Yeah, I see. And that's probably the same. Do you think it's okay from my perspective then, if I were to do a video and then get that video transcribed by rev.com, it's going to need some editing to make it keyword rich? Or can you just kind of make it better English, because my spoken English isn't particularly good, and then, put it up and job done? Or do you have to do a bit more to it than that?
Yeah, you have to do a little bit more to that. I do the same thing. So we'll create videos. Funny enough, we use rev.com as well. Transcribe it. They're pretty fast. You still got to modify it because even the transcriptions aren't perfect. And even if they modify, even if their transcriptions were perfect, the way we talk doesn't always work out in a paragraph form for blog content. You got to modify it. You got to make sure you're including the keywords. You got to make sure it flows, it's appealing, it's conversational. And then from there, you can post it up. But it typically requires a lot of editing. What we've seen is there's nothing wrong with that process, but sometimes it's just easier to write a blog post from scratch and not transcribe the videos.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Maybe start with bullet points and then expand it out from there, perhaps for using, I often do my videos with bullet points. So maybe it's just taking them from there and then writing the blogs afterwards. That's actually not a bad idea. It's a bit more effort, but as you say, it'll probably read a little bit better.
And it'll perform much better too in the long run.
Yeah. Interesting. So I'm interested. We've covered a bit around marketing, and I know that's your core topic, but I'm always interested. This is aimed at business owners. And we get a lot of self-employed entrepreneurs and, who listen to this from startup through to scale up. And I think, how many people are on your team right now?
I don't know. Globally, I had to guess maybe 400.
So 400. So from that,
I honestly don't know.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm always interested in, I know I've seen your kids in your videos before, and you're a family man, and how through the journey of getting to 400 people on your team, which most people listening to this, let's face it, they're never going to have to, deal with businesses of that size. But how have you managed to maintain a work-life balance through that journey of, going from what was just you perhaps initially, I would assume, and then the scale up phase?
Amazing managers and partners. That's really it. I'm not the best operator. So my business partner, Mike, he ends up dealing with all that, and I'm not good at that stuff. He's the one who hired pretty much almost all the people as well.
Right. So was it always, when you started out, was it in your vision to get to the scale and size that you are now, or was that more kind of Mike's vision, or it's just happened organically over the time that you've been doing it?
Happened organically. Neither him or I were like, yeah, we don't care if we have 400, 500 or 1,000 or even 50. We care for the people, but we don't care about the number. We don't want to fire people. Don't get me wrong on that end. But when we started, we never had this vision that we want to have 1,000 employees or 500 or 400. We want to create an amazing environment for all our team members where they enjoy working. We want to create amazing results for our customers where they're happy and we can help them succeed. But generally speaking, it just organically happened. I think it's too hard to plan out how many people you want. And typically, if you can get more done with less people, the better off you are.
Yeah, and it definitely stems, you've got that passion for marketing, which is clearly evident, and it's what's driven the business forward for such a long period of time, isn't it? Is without that passion front leading it and, someone operating it effectively, as you say, in your operations manager, then it just never would have got to where it was.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you think it's, has it been stressful for you over that journey of going through it, or do you think that's mostly been carried by your business partner?
It's mainly through my business partner. I didn't have to deal with literally anything.
Nice. So what's a typical day then like for you in terms of, coming up? Are you the ideas man and doing all that side of it?
I focus on the marketing, traction, and going from there. I spend a lot of time with family. COVID, we're all in lockdown anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and things are growing decently. During times like this, what most people don't realize is the bigger you are, the harder it is to stay afloat, right? You got more expenses, more people, business may not grow as fast during times like this, which is fine. I look at things and there's way more people struggling harder and more than me, which sucks. I rather struggle a little bit more and make sure people have food on their plates at night, stuff like that. But keep in mind, size isn't always a good thing. And the reason I want to emphasize that, and especially in the mortgage industry, you see a lot of people are like, I want a massive team. I want people dialing, getting me tons of leads and closing tons of deals. But you have to remember, when you grow really large, it also makes it easier for you to potentially fail as well.
Yeah. Do you think during these times, you mentioned COVID there as well, and we're in lockdown in the UK, it got announced a couple of days ago at the weekend. And do you think now's a really good time to be doubling down on marketing and actually driving the business of the future?
I think so. What's interesting is that some industries are booming. So in the US, real estate is booming like crazy right now. We have a shortage of supply. I don't know if that's happened in the UK. Our interest rates are really low, and there's a shortage of inventory on the market. So most people thought if you asked them a year or two ago, they would have said that correction's coming. And now we're actually seeing the opposite, where more sales are happening, higher prices, and they're happening quicker.
Yeah. I think we're seeing a similar. It's one of those that there's been so much speculation in terms of what's actually going to happen with the industry and what's going to happen with the market. And can people still go and view properties, and how can solicitors manage to get people to sign paperwork, and the legal side of it? Yeah, it's all fun and joys. But a lot of the people who listen to this as well are kind of in the online world and actually generating course commissions or coaching side of things as well. You know, what are the big things that you think work from a marketing perspective if you're a coach or a consultant or a speaker, someone like that?
The biggest thing that most people make mistakes in that space is they don't have the upsells. See, let's say you're doing ads or SEO or whatever it may be. Sorry about that. So let's say you're doing ads or whatever it may be, right? SEO. When people are selling courses, coaching, or whatnot, the difference between a 6-figure business and a 7-figure business is the person who's doing 6 figures wants to spend $1 and make 10 right away, right? So they don't spend as much. The returns are higher. They're just not at scale. The person making 7 figures realizes that, hey, if I want to sell more and make more money, I gotta spend a little bit more and not make as much. So I may spend $1 and make $3 or £1 and make £3. The 8-figure guy will say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to spend £1 as well as I make £1 right away, but then I'll have the upsells. And in the long run, I'll make quite a bit more money. The guy who's at 9 figures will say, hey, I'll spend £3 to only make £1. But because I have so many upsells in my funnel and so many products, eventually I'll make way more than £3. I'll make 6, 7, 8, and the business is highly profitable, but I'm going to have to burn money for a while. And to really get there, what you need is multiple products, upsells, and downsells. If you do that, you'll do much better in the space. And you need to have products at all different price points, from low to high to medium. And when you do that, you can appeal to all segments of the market and you can do better.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. I've definitely seen that in some of the people as well. You know, some of the large, particularly American coaches and things like that, you can see their whole product suite and there's just a massive stuff. They get you in on a £1 a day kind of thing and they end up getting 20,000 people signing up in a week or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah, so you need a lot, and then you got to keep them up to date as well, because if they're not up to date, people stop buying.
Yeah, and that's the problem in marketing, isn't it? It's so hard to release marketing courses because within the space of a month, an algorithm change and it's all gone completely.
That's right.
Yeah, I've seen some of actually I've seen your I got targeted with one of your ads for your Facebook course that you've got.
That's probably not my ad because we don't run ads for our stuff, but that's probably
an ad.
What was that?
Maybe it wasn't an ad. Maybe it was just the fact that I follow your page and it's,
that could have been it. But yeah, we have a Facebook course, and what's funny enough is sometimes people do take my name and image and then they run ads to their own company with it for corporate. Legal notices. Yeah, we send them legal notices and then eventually it gets taken down.
Yeah. And that it's a Facebook video series, right? Is it 5 videos? I think it is, maybe. In terms of
yeah, it'll be a 6-part series.
That's
and then we'll end up going from there. But I'll show you something funny. So if you look at this, one of my team members, like Grant, saying, are you paid to endorse Social Pilot? Or are they using your image without knowing? And then I tell them, nope, send an email, take it down. But like, you know, not that I know, but like it's so funny, just the amount of people that just use other people's names and stuff like that.
And just rip them off. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, I've only seen the first 2 in terms of that series that's out at the moment. But from what we've seen, and I've passed it on to my team, there's huge amounts of value in there. So for anyone watching or listening, you need to go and dive over to Neil's Facebook page and actually get a watch of that, because it's going to help you excel when it comes to Facebook marketing, which is highly competitive at the moment compared to when I started in 2016.
Definitely. It's much more competitive, sadly.
Yeah. And you mentioned Clubhouse earlier. I'm quite intrigued. What's kind of your viewpoint in terms of where you think Clubhouse is going to go with it being so new and fresh?
I have no clue, but I think it's going to do really well in B2B. So I see it as another version of LinkedIn, just an audio version. So I'm just trying to get as many followers as possible.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those that, with everybody having been used to, you know, doing things like this where you're on StreamYard or Zoom, or, you know, the physical events have had to stop. You know, email, I think, is going to be massive this year. And I think things like audio and Clubhouse, where the leverage of time, you don't have to sit there and actually invest time into watching a video. You can sit on a bike and ride and listen, or you can go for a walk with the kids and have one earphone in or whatever. Do you think that's a fair assessment for 2021?
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next for Neil Patel then? Where's your brand and business going?
Just continually grow, or try to at least. Hopefully, I'm knock on wood, a little superstitious, but we'll try to grow and see what happens.
Yeah, you're going to continue to keep doing the blogging. Do you do the blogging yourself now, or is that leveraged out to somebody else?
Blogging is me. My team updates 21 old blog posts to keep them fresh. That they do. I don't have time to do 21 updates a week, but I write at least one post a week.
Crazy, nice. So in terms of if people want to find out more about Neil Patel or connect with you on socials, what's the best thing and where to go?
neilpatel.com.
Thanks very much indeed, Neil. It's been really a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for sharing your wisdoms on marketing and business. And I look forward to watching more of you online.
Thanks for having me.